praises. Happy Sabbath to you all. Glad to see y'all faces once again here. Welcome to you new brothers and new sisters. Welcome to IUIC Miami. Welcome home early. Let's go over class here as quickly as the Spirit of the Lord will allow it to come out. We're going to call this class today, The Keys to the Kingdom. The keys to the kingdom. We'll just touch on a few points. I'll go over here. Let's open up 2 Timothy 3 and 16. If you can't keep along, if you going too fast, just write them down. And you'll be able to, once you go home, you can go over and study these scriptures once again. But if you can keep up, try your best to keep up. That way you learn the Bible. You learn your sword. That you're able to defend yourself in the word of God when that time comes, when people question you of your faith. So let's read that 2 Timothy 3 and 16.
2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 16. All scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness.
So everything in the Bible is written for us to learn from, like it says in Romans 15 and 4. So if you find yourself, you need to, for reproof, means you need to re-examine yourself. It's scriptures in the Bible so you can re-examine yourself. If you need correction in your life, something's out of order in your life, something just ain't right, whether it be your marriage, how you deal with other people, things on your job, finding a job, anything it might be, if it needs correcting, it's scriptures on that in here. For instructions in righteousness, how to keep the commandments. For what purpose? Read verse 17.
That the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works.
So the Bible is here for us to be perfect. The thing is, you got to want to strive for perfection. It's not easy to strive for perfection. If it was easy, everybody would do it. It's hard. It's not an easy road to strive for perfection, but you've got the greatest tool on earth at your disposal, and leaders like from bishop on down that are willing to teach you everything that you need for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that you can be found perfect before Christ, because that's what he's wanting. Go to Ephesians 4:13. That's what he's wanting. So we have to step up to the plate of this walk that we in to get to the kingdom and strive for perfection. He's not taking anything less out of us. He's not taking us, oh, that's how I was raised. He's still working on me. Oh, that's just how I am. He's not taking none of those excuses, because this is what he expects. Ephesians 4:13.
Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 13. Till we all come in the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, unto a perfect man.
Unto a what?
Unto a perfect man.
A perfect man or woman. A perfect man. Read on.
Unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ.
So when he makes his second coming, his return, he's looking for perfect men and women that measure up to his standards of how he lived his life when he walked the earth. That's why we don't have any excuses, because he left it here of how he lived, how he walked, and he expects you to apply that to your life, because the scriptures say we shall walk even so as he walked. So he's looking for perfect men and women that measure up to the stature and the fullness of Christ. Give me 1 Peter 2. 1 Peter 2, 21. Let's get some examples on that of how he walked. The keys to the kingdom today, class. 1 Peter 2, let's read 21 through 23.
1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 21. For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps.
So coming into this truth, we'll go into it later too. When you break that bread and drink that wine, you have just signed a contract with your spiritual and physical life that you are willing to suffer like Christ did in his footsteps to get where he got to. because we was talking leadership, we got to meet. We got to stop living in a fantasy world that this is going to be, that we can have Christianity. You know what I mean? The Christianity where nobody tells me and nobody corrects me. I just come, I just show up, I pay my money, I hear good music, and then I go home. We can't have that Christianity thought and still try to get eternal life, the kingdom of heaven. It don't work like that with Christ. To get to where Christ got, we have to go through what it says. Christ also suffered, leaving us an example. He suffered, we gonna suffer. It'll be in different walks, in different phases of your life. It might be with lust, it might be with cigarettes, it might be with liquor, it might be proving a sister, it might be anger. You have to bring all of those things into subjection, because when we read the scriptures, Christ didn't exemplify none of those attributes. He was a temperate man. He was a compassionate man. He cared about his people to the point that he gave his life for his people. So read that again, verse 21.
1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 21. For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps.
Read on.
Who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. Who, when he was reviled not. Again, when he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judgeth righteously.
So going into, we can't have that spirit. Somebody do me wrong, time for payback. That ain't the spirit that Christ rode in. He was unjustly killed for our wickedness. And he said he committed himself to him that judgeth righteously. He had ultimate faith. Some of us don't have that faith enough to keep enduring the suffering before we lash out and snap on somebody and be like, it was just, nigga, it kept going on. What am I supposed to do? Well, Christ, a whole night was beat, whipped, punched in the face, spit on, slapped, a beard ripped out his face, and some nails went through his hand, and he got stabbed in the side. And reviled not. Go to what I got here, John chapter 10. What we getting is the measure and the stature of Christ to get to the kingdom like he is. John 10, and I want verse 17, 18.
John chapter 10 and verse 17. Therefore, doth my Father love me, because I laid down my life, that I might take it again. No man taketh it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This commandment have I received of my Father.
So we don't have that power to lay down our life and say, I'll be back again in 3 days. No, that power wasn't given to us. So you have to see it in a different way, the next level of it. Christ gave up his life. Some of us ain't willing to give up our time to get to the kingdom. We want God to be convenient for us. Well, you know, I got to do this. I got to do that. Well, you know, I got this to do. I got that to do. I ain't got the time. So we got to be willing to give up something to get to where Christ is. It be our time. Might be our money. Might be our skills that we got. Might be helping somebody move. It might be being on the phone with somebody so they could just talk. We can't have the spirit where we ain't willing to give up nothing, but we want everything in return. That ain't the example that we had. Read that again, verse 17.
John chapter 10, verse 17. Therefore, doth my Father love me, because I laid down my life, that I may take it again.
Now go to Matthew. Let's go to Matthew 10, 35. What you willing to give up? Christ was willing to give up his life. Matthew 10, 35.
Matthew chapter 10, verse 35.
I want you to know, putting on take it off your pants, putting on a dress every day, you really ain't giving up nothing, sisters, okay? Just in case that thought, I sacrificed the way I look. Nah. Matthew, you brothers, I let my hair grow. I'm forehead bald. I was a lot sexier when I was straight bald. You ain't giving up nothing. No. It's a lot deeper than that. Matthew 10:35.
Matthew chapter 10, verse 35. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. He,
Oh, is it? Read it again, verse 35.
yes, sir. Matthew chapter 10, verse 35. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household.
So, might have to give up some family. You know why I brought that out? Because it's coming around. What we in right now? September, right? They already got those Halloween stuff out. They already got Christmas stuff out. They already got Thanksgiving stuff out waiting on you. And for all of you that are brand new in here, your first year in the truth, this is when it gets the hardest time, when all those childhood memories start popping up and you start trimming your ways to seek love. You go over there when you know you're not supposed to. They already got a Christmas tree up over there. And they tell you that, oh, you ain't got to celebrate Thanksgiving with us. Just come over and get some pumpkin pie. And you find your way over there somehow. And then eventually come Esau's New Year, you find yourself completely gone out the truth. So you're going to have to give up some family. That's just the way it is. Your foes are going to be those of your own household. Matthew chapter 9, verse 36. Christ was willing to give up his mother and his brothers. Peter gave up his wife. He left. He followed Christ. Christ put himself on the cross and he said to John, son, behold your mother. Mother, behold your son. And from that day forward, she went into his own house, into his house. Matthew chapter 9, 36.
Matthew chapter 9 and verse 36. But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them, because they fainted and were scattered abroad, as sheep having no shepherd.
So Christ had compassion. If you got that anger spirit or that bickering spirit, the bickering spirit's mostly over here. It's not over here. The anger spirit over here. You got that kind of spirit, you got to have compassion one of another. These are things that's going to get you to the kingdom. Now go to Psalms 15. Now let's start the class. That was a warm-up intro. They're like, dang, intro. Psalms 15 and 1.
Psalms chapter 15 and verse 1. Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle?
So the question is from David, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Where is God's tabernacle? Go to Psalms 11 and 4. Let's find out where God's tabernacle is.
Psalms chapter 11 and verse 4. The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven.
So read it again.
The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. His eyes behold, his eyelids try the children of men.
So when it says in Psalms 15 and 1, the Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Read on. Verse 1,
Who
15.
shall dwell in thy holy hill?
God's holy hills in the heavens.
He
Soon to come here. So it said, who's going to dwell amongst you, God? Now David's going to go through and give us the keys to the kingdom. Go ahead.
He that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness and speaketh truth in his heart.
So it says, he that walketh uprightly. Let's get some of that. Go to Leviticus 19. He that walketh uprightly. See what that entails. So we don't leave it up to our own understanding. Lean not upon our own understanding. Let's find out what God says. How do we walk uprightly? Let's read Leviticus 19. Let's start at 11.
Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 11. Ye shall not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie one to another.
Read it again.
Ye shall not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie one to another.
And walking upright. This is one thing our people don't do. Y'all seen it when the hurricane hit down here, right? What did Jake go and do? I think it was North Miami. Who gets Eliab? You saw it on the news. What happened? Stand up. Hold on. We need a microphone, right? Where you at? Hold on. Here it comes. To your right.
They broke into stores and the ladies broke in for some weed.
Right. The store specifically was a Foot Locker, I believe it was. And then they caught Israelite women, I don't know if it was in the dumpster diving for weave. After and during the hurricane. That's why this law is here for our people. Read it again.
Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 11. You shall not steal.
You should not use God visiting the earth as an opportunity to try to break in the back of a church. Should not use that opportunity to try to break into people's house. There was also reports of people going around during all the chaos, knocking on people's doors, saying they was like FPL somebody and robbing people when they opened the door. God says, ye shall not steal. Read on.
Neither deal falsely.
Deal falsely, you're not telling all the truth. Hiding something. Not bringing out the full, complete story. That's dealing falsely. Read on.
Neither lie one to another.
Read on.
And ye shall not swear by my name falsely. Neither shall thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning.
So does anybody know what that means while we going over these basics here? Neither shalt thou defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. Can somebody give me an example? Brother, give me an example. Because somebody might ask you, what does it mean to defraud thy neighbor and rob him? Abraham.
You and your brother have an agreement before something comes to pass, and when it's time for you to hold your end of the bargain, you change up, you switch up.
There you go, exactly right. That's a good example. You defrauded him. You promised this, but when it come time, you only got this. Israel's good for that. You owe me $20, but you only got 8 on you. It's all I got. You told me you had my money. I know, man. Some stuff happened. Israel's good for defrauding thy brother. And robbing him. They're going back to stealing. So maybe you didn't understand stealing, but you're a robber. God said, don't rob him. Read on. In the wages. Read that part.
The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning.
Does any brother know what that means? The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee until the morning. I'm glad we're going over this. Y'all looking at me like deers in headlight. Let's get it, Eliakim. What does that mean?
When you work, you should get your wages. You shouldn't take, I'm gonna wait till tomorrow to give you your wages if you did the work today.
Right, exactly right. So that whole getting paid every week, every 2 weeks that Esau set up is a straight abomination in the eyes of God. I work, I should get some money before I go home. That's how God says. When you work for somebody, pay them when they leave. Don't wait all night into the morning. They might need it right then and there. How many of y'all needed some money right then and there, and they got to wait till the end of the week? Living off daggone, sheesh. Making $12 stretch. Juggling bills. Yeah, Abraham.
And they put in payday loans to get you in a trap where you can't even get out.
Yep, exactly right. Them things be having 500% usury on it, which is taxes, y'all. Interest. And you only find them where we live at. that ain't where Esau live at. That ain't where the daggone, who else? Moab live at. That is right in the hood where we live at. Esau's the devil. All right, so you do some work for somebody, pay them the same day. Read verse 14.
Thou shalt not curse the deaf, nor put a stumbling block before the blind, but shalt fear thy God. I am the Lord.
What does that mean? I think somebody recently asked me that. What does that mean? You shall not curse the deaf, nor put a stumbling block before the blind. Listen, look at the words. Remember, the commandments are easy to be understood. God ain't trying to trick you. You just got to put it in the words. Sirach.
Basically, you're making fun of the handicapped.
There you go. Exactly right. Don't make fun of or take advantage of the handicap. It says, curse the deaf or put a stumbling block before the blind. He can already see. You won't make fun of him. Evil little kids might do this. And you put a daggone tree limb in front of him and tell him, yeah, walk that way. It's evil. It's supposed to be an upright people. Like it says back in Psalms 15. He that walketh uprightly. Read on, verse 15.
Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty. But in righteousness shall thou judge thy neighbor.
That's pretty self-explanatory, but you find people sway in judgment based on somebody's name. Esau does that a lot. Like it's devil in the White House now. He speak a whole lot of evil, and he got a whole bunch of flunkies around him that pump up his ego. Speak a lot of evil. Verse 16.
Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people.
Shall not be a gossiper is what God is saying. Keep your mouth shut. Mind your own business. Read on.
Neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. I am the Lord.
What does that mean? Stand against the blood of thy neighbor. Any brother know what that means? Take a shot at it. Stand against the blood of thy neighbor. Solomon.
It means don't put your neighbor in a situation where he might get killed.
I like it. I like it. I like it. His life's on the line. You don't know what's going on. You don't like him. So you say something to go ahead and bring the condemnation already. Can't have that amongst us. Upright people. Verse, where we at? 17.
Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him.
So in all of Israel, even out there in the world, we get to that verse 17 right there, we have a hard time. It's in the Bible, but for some reason we have a hard time of accepting it, not applying it. Because a lot of times we tell people off all the time, but a lot of us accepting it, there's where we have the problem. The scriptures already said that the reason why somebody would rebuke you and not suffer sin upon you is because they don't hate you. But a lot of times we find it as hate. Why they tell me this? Why they coming to me like that? Won't they mind their own business? Using all kind of scriptures out of context. Because they see you in the midst of sin. Verse 18.
Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as
So
thyself.
Day of Atonement just passed. Day of Atonement just passed. And I guarantee you, throughout all Israel, it is people still bearing grudges. So in essence, you just wasted the Day of Atonement. You wasted that holy day of God for him to wipe your sins clean away because you didn't forgive the person that you was supposedly bearing a grudge against. You waited till after the Day of Atonement to bring it out. That's backwards. Read verse 18 again.
Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord.
Now go back to Psalms 15. To complete that verse 17 and 18 and all of those moral laws that we just read about, you got to learn how to love yourself as a people. And a lot of us don't know how to. A lot of us don't know how to love our own self. The beauty that the Most High gave you, sisters, the manly dignity, the things that the Most High gave you, brothers, your dress code. You don't really have no true confidence in it. You still feel some kind of way about it. That's why you do all kind of things to alter your natural makeup, because you truly don't love yourself. You think you look better than the way that God created you. Go back to Psalms 15 and verse 2. And I ain't talking about the normal, cutting your hair and all of that type stuff. Y'all know exactly what I mean. I ain't got time to. Go to verse 2.
Psalms chapter 15 and verse 2. He that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness.
We just read a whole list of working righteousness, practicing those things by not stealing, lying, dealing falsely, defrauding our neighbor, not cursing the deaf, stumbling blocks before the blind, loving your neighbor as you love yourself. Read on.
And speaketh the truth in his heart.
Speaketh what?
Speaketh the truth in his heart.
In his mind. The Most High don't want us to be lying people. Tell the truth. Don't sugarcoat it. Use some discretion about how you bring it out, but get the truth out. Verse 3.
He that backbiteth not with his tongue.
Well, matter of fact, go to Exodus 23. I got something on that. Exodus 23. Let's go into some more of that walketh uprightly and all that other stuff. Exodus 23 and 1.
Exodus chapter 23 and verse 1. Thou shalt not raise a false report. Put not thine hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness.
Where do we read that in Leviticus? What was the scripture we read in Leviticus that's saying the exact same thing? Brother Judah. Microphone. If you don't have his precept next to Exodus 23 and 1, if he gives the right answer, you should put it there. What is it?
Leviticus chapter 19 and 11.
That's exactly right. Leviticus 19 and 11. It's saying the same exact thing. Read verse 1 again.
Thou shalt not raise a false report. Put not thine hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. Neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment.
Where did we read that in Leviticus? Where's it at? Exodus 23 and 2. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. We know that part.
16.
Verse 16, read it. You got a microphone?
Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer
Mm-hmm.
among thy people, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbors.
That's exactly right. I am the Lord. So let's go back to Exodus 23 and let's read verse 2 again.
Exodus chapter 23 and verse 2. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil.
Can somebody give me an example of not following a multitude to do evil? James, give me an example of not following a multitude to do evil. You brothers that don't raise your hand, you just hit the lottery. I'm calling on you. Give him the microphone. It ain't hard. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. Give me an example. Brother James, stand up. What does that mean? Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. Give me an example of somebody following a multitude to do evil.
An example would be the situation with the Foot Locker incident.
Ah,
with them
exactly. Good job. Exactly right. Following them there to rob the store. Who's that back there? Deuce, give me an example of another way that somebody could follow a multitude to do evil.
Like if you're in school and then a bunch of kids about to skip school and they ask you to come with them.
Good example. Should be cutting school with other. with bad kids. Right there, I forgot it. Gad, right? No, right there, behind the raya. No, he looked like Gad. Behind the raya. Right there. Yeah, he had his hand up. What's your name again, brother? Stand up. Yeah, you.
Yeah, I would say like
Name again.
Brother Adlai.
Adlai, that's what it is. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, that would be like, for example, like Halloween that just coming up, and your
The
brother.
who?
The Halloween.
Oh, yeah, Halloween. Exactly right. There's a lot of people going to do evil. Yeah, Hamo, what you got? That's good examples. I hope y'all apply these when this happens, because there's a lot of evil in them high schools.
Christianity.
Christianity is a major one. Otis, let's see what you got.
Well, actually, I have two for you. One is being in a gang,
There we go. That's what I wanted. What's the other one?
and the other one is being in a fraternity.
Being in the fraternity. Exactly
sir.
right. Good ones. Zion, being in a gang.
Shalom, Israel.
Shalom.
Well, let's just say your workplace holding any festivities, especially for Christmas, like a Christmas party, and it's not mandatory for you to go, but you go anyways.
You go anyway. Good one. That's following a multitude to do evil. I like those examples. Lord will we apply those things when it happens. Read verse 2 again.
Exodus chapter 23 and verse 2. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment.
You just agree with everybody else because they agree. They saying it. You don't know what's going on, but everybody else saying it. It's true. It must be true then. Read on.
Verse 3. Thou shalt, neither shalt thou
Countenance.
neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause.
What does that mean? Countenance of poor. What does countenance mean? Does anybody know what countenance mean? Countenance, Judah. What is your countenance? When somebody says that, what does that mean?
Your countenance is like the look on your face.
The look on your face. There you go. So now we got one part of it. It says, neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause. So now you know countenance means look. Now what's the other part of it mean? A poor man in his cause. Does any brother know? Let's see. Deuce had his hand up first. Let's take it. It's the place to be wrong at. Here, not out there.
When you look at him while he's going through what he's going through.
I like it. That's a good one. That's it right there. But now give me an example. I need an example of you countenance. You look at a poor man in his cause. Malek.
Shalom, leadership.
Shalom.
Somebody that's going through a hard time, they doing bad, and you looking down on that person.
Right, like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Look at me, I made it. I can't help you. That's looking down on a poor man in his cause, trying to get up out the situation, but you like, come on, man, you broke. That's a niggard. Because you was poor just like that at one time. You know who does that? Rappers. Rappers do that a lot. Acting like they didn't come from the hood. Verse 4.
Exodus chapter 23 and verse 4. If thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. If thou see the ass of him that hateth thee, lying under his burden, and wouldest forbear to help him, thou shalt surely help with him.
So, enemy, verse 4, 5, hateth him. So, when Christ, Matthew 5:44 is talking about love your enemies, he's talking about this right here. Help your neighbors out, even if you ain't in agreement with them. You know, in order to get to that point, you can't bear grudges. Because you would put aside your feelings or whatever you had between each other and say, I'm going to help him out anyway because God says so. That's my brother. That's the keys to the kingdom. You're right. Read on.
Verse 6. Thou shalt not rest the judgment of thy poor in his cause.
Read on.
Keep thee far from a false matter, and the innocent and the righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked.
Read on.
And thou shalt take no gift, for the gift blindeth the wise, and perverteth the words of the righteous.
Now go back to Psalms 15. Some more keys to the kingdom right there.
Psalms chapter 15 and verse 2. He that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness and speaketh the truth in his heart.
What verse you on?
That's verse 2.
All right, go ahead.
He that backbiteth not with his tongue.
He that what?
Backbiteth not with his tongue.
Read verse 1 again.
Psalms chapter 15 and verse 1. Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle?
Read verse 3 again.
He that backbiteth not with his tongue.
Go to the book of Sirach 19 and 6. He that backbiteth not. What's another way of saying backbiteth? Does any brother know? Give me some words. Give me some synonyms. Nariah up front. Dang, all these.
Backstabber.
Backstabber. Okay. Gilead in the back, all the way to the back. We just read it.
Yeah, when you carry in false report.
False report. All right, last one, Brother Judah. He got a microphone up here.
To belittle or betray somebody.
You just Google that on your phone? No. To belittle or betray. he gave me the Merriam's Webster dictionary.
Come on, we on camera.
Backbiting, gossiping, saying one thing, doing another. Smile on your face. Oh, how they want to take my place. Backstabber. Y'all know the OJ song. All right, so read that in Sirach.
Sirach
19 and 6, starting there.
Sirach chapter 19 and verse 6. He that can rule his tongue shall live without strife.
Mm-hmm.
And he that hateth babbling shall have less evil. Rehearse not unto another that which is told unto thee, and thou shalt fare never the worse, whether it be to friend or foe.
Now, all right, so it says here, I'm going to the difference here. He that can rule his tongue shall live without strife. Because a lot of y'all come in here new and you don't quite understand when you should say something, when you should not say something. What is the barrier? Oh, we read it already too. Oh, all praises. What is the barrier of when I need to speak up and when I should keep my mouth shut when I know something? What is the guideline? That's why we do precept upon precept. God don't leave it to you. Just got to read the Bible and apply what is written, and you have all the. It says, what does it say? At the bottom of verse 7, and thou shalt fare never the worst. When is the barometer of when, okay, it's time for me to say something, and ain't none of my business. Okay, I heard it, but yeah, Brother Abaddon up front here. When is that?
You speak when sin is in play.
There you go. When sin is in play. We just read in Leviticus 19:17. Thou shalt not suffer sin upon thy neighbor. Okay, sin's in the place. It's time for me to say something. I don't care what you think. Sin's here. I love you as myself. Be mad if you want to. Poof, be gone. That's when it's time to say something. Read verse 6 and 7 again. That's why you brothers got to study the law. Y'all trying to read through Sirach. Y'all trying to read all of Paul's letters and Revelation and know what the daggone what was it, the chip is and all that. And got a question up here. What's the little horn? Ain't nobody raised their hand on when should I speak up. Yeah, Daniel 7. I got those questions, but the keys to the kingdom about. So read verse 6 and 7. It's good we go over this class.
Sirach chapter 19 and verse 6. He that can rule his tongue shall live without strife, and he that hateth babbling shall have less evil. Rehearse not unto another that which is told unto thee, and thou shalt fare never the worse.
Read on.
Whether it be to friend or foe, talk not of other men's lives. And if thou canst without offense, reveal them not.
That's the barometer. If you talking about somebody else and you can't say it to them without them getting offended, that should not be spoken of right there. That's when, let me keep my mouth closed because I know how they are. I shouldn't be talking about this. Abaddon. Without offense, reveal them not.
Yeah, on that, there's an old folk saying that says, if you have nothing good to say, say nothing at all.
Exactly right.
And that's the same thing that Scripture is saying.
New school generation don't know nothing about that. They have been taught, say whatever's on your mind. Don't hold back. Get it out. Freedom of speech. But when you say something that they don't like, they put your ass out the NFL. So it's really not no freedom of speech. Read on in that.
Sirach chapter 19 and verse 9. For he heard and observed thee, and when time cometh, he will hate thee. If thou hast heard a word, let it die with thee, and be bold, it would not burst thee.
Some people just, when they hear something, they just gotta get it out. They just and to get that out, they'll bring it in the matter of conversational tone. They won't bring it out in the, ooh, I got something to tell you, boy. Come on, get in the car with me real quick. Let me tell you this. They won't bring it out in that manner. They'll bring it out in the form like, yeah, man, I seen that the other day too. Old boy did this, that, and the other. Yeah, I saw her walk in there. And then I seen this too the other day. I'm just saying, you know, I ain't the one to be, I'm not talking about her, but.
I was just about to say that.
I ain't trying to talk bad about her.
I ain't trying to gossip or nothing, but
this is what I saw. God says, be quiet. Let it die with you. Take it to the grave. Let it die with thee. Take that thing to the grave if it ain't sin, if you can't reveal it to him without offense, just be quiet. And be bold. It will not burst thee. Be bold. Come on, man. You done said it now. Now you got to tell me. Come on now. You can't do that. You can't say it. Then now you ain't going to tell me. Come on, man.
Hey,
that's what it's talking about.
I know old folks saying, I ain't calling you old, but I'm just saying. I know. I know old folks saying, you can't hold water. You can't hold water.
Who told you that? Boy, you can't hold water. Yeah, I done heard that before. Read on.
Sirach chapter 19 and verse 11. A fool travaileth with a word, as a woman in labor of a child.
You can't wait to get it out. It hurts you to keep it in. Read on.
As an arrow that sticketh in a man's thigh, so is a word within a fool's belly.
Now go to 21, and let's read verse 25 through 28. Because remember, we on Psalms 15, where, what did it say back in Psalms 15? I won't forget the thought, because it said, who shall abide in thy holy tabernacle? What's it saying? Where we at? Verse 4 or 3?
We're at verse 3.
Read that real quick. Keep your fingers to rock. I just want to refresh the memory while we here. Verse 3.
Psalms chapter 15 and verse 3. Verse 3. He that backbiteth not with his tongue.
There we go. Now go back to Sirach 21:25.
Sirach chapter 21 and verse 25.
David basically saying in the spirit, who's going to make it to the kingdom of heaven? Read that.
The lips of talkers will be telling such things as pertaining not unto them.
It's not none of their business. Read on.
But the words of such as have understanding are weighed in the balance.
So a person that has understanding knows when I should say something, when I should not say something. That ain't none of my business. It ain't really worth talking about. And I shouldn't even bring it up because I know if I was saying it to them, they'd be offended. That's what a wise person would do. Read on.
Verse 26. The heart of fools is in their mouth.
The mind of fools is in their mouth. Talking a whole lot is what God's saying. He'll tell you, what does it say? Let somebody speak long enough. They'll tell you what's on their mind or tell you the truth. Read on.
But the mouth of the wise is in their heart.
It's in their mind. They're keeping them thoughts to themselves. Read on.
When the ungodly curseth Satan, he curseth his own soul.
Because that's who he's worshiping. Read on.
A whisperer defileth his own soul, and is hated wheresoever he dwelleth.
He's what?
A whisper defileth his own soul, and is hated wheresoever he dwelleth.
Go to 22, Sirach 22. Is that where I'm at now? Yep, 21. Sirach 22:21.
Sirach chapter 22 and verse 21. Though thou drewest a sword at thy friend, yet despair not, for for there may be a return to favor. For there may be a returning to favor. If thou hast opened thy mouth against thy friend, fear not, for there may be a reconciliation.
Because Matthew 18 can be applied. Okay, you said something you weren't supposed to. Okay, let's apply Matthew 18 because you offended me, because you was backbiting on me. The scriptures say thou should not be doing that. It will up and down the talebearers. But let's reconcile this thing. Read on.
Except for upbraiding
Uh-huh.
or pride.
Look up the definition of upbraiding. Go ahead. Or what? It says except for upbraiding. Uh-huh.
Or pride. Or disclosing of secrets.
Read
or
on.
a treacherous wound.
A treacherous wound. You don't put your hands on them. Go ahead.
For these things every friend will depart.
Read on.
Be faithful to thy neighbor in his poverty, that thou mayest rejoice in his prosperity. Abide steadfast unto him in the time of his trouble, that thou mayest be heir with him in his heritage. For a mean estate is not always to be contemned, nor the rich that is foolish to be had in admiration.
That's Donald Trump right there, that last part. Go to Psalms 15 and 4. You got it? Upbraiding. There we go. Upbraiding means to criticize severely, to reproach severely, to scald vehemently. Something goes wrong with your friend and you come down on them with the hammer. They the worst person in the world. Oh, we got a bunch of synonyms. Ball out. Berate, call down, castigate, dress down, flay, hammer. There we go, hammer. Admonish, chide. Whole lot of words. Criticize. I like that word right there, right next to criticize. Crucify them. They the worst person in the world because they made a mistake. Do that, friends gonna leave. Give me that. Go back to Psalms 15 and 4 now.
Psalms chapter 15 and verse 4.
Read verse 3 again.
Yes, sir. Psalms chapter 15 and verse 3. He that backbiteth not with his tongue, nor doeth evil to his neighbor, nor taketh up a reproach against his neighbor.
Speak evil of him. Read on.
In whose eyes a vile person is contained.
Go to Isaiah 5 and 20. In whose eyes a vile person is contemned. Meaning that somebody's wicked, you call them out as they are. Like it said in Exodus, you ain't justifying the wicked. You ain't standing in their cause to rest judgment with many. Give me that in Isaiah 5 and 20.
Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil.
That's a lot of that. That's what our people do on a daily basis in the world. We call evil good and good evil. You keeping the commandments, you evil. You in a cult. You loving your neighbor as yourself, the worst thing, because you're supposed to be looking out for your own self. But when you care about the masses of your people, you looked upon as evil. Read on.
That put darkness for light and light for darkness. That put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter.
Go back to, now go to Psalms 94:16. Psalms 94:16.
Psalms chapter 94 and verse 16.
Uh-huh.
Who will rise up for me against the evildoers? Or who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity?
So it says here in Psalms 15 and 4, in whose eyes a vile person is contemned. We got to be people that stand up for what is right. And what is right is this Bible. What is right is speaking out against the injustices against our people and not being afraid to stand on that when you questioned about it. Go back to Psalms 15. And let's read verse 4 again.
Psalms chapter 15 and verse 4. In whose eyes a vile person is contained. But he honoreth them that fear the Lord. He that swerveth to his own hurt and changeth not.
It's the bottom of that part is what I want. It says, he that swerveth to his own hurt and changeth not. Go to Luke 22:41. He that sweareth to his own hurt. Luke 22:44. Let me show y'all something here. Luke 41.
Luke chapter 22 and verse 41. And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's cast, and kneeled down and prayed, saying, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done.
What is happening right here? Does any brother know what's happening in Luke 22 with Christ kneeling down? Nashan, what's happening right here? Because we going over, it says, he that sweareth to his own hurt and changeth not.
Christ is asking God to take the death away from him.
Right, exactly right. That's exactly what he's asking God. So Christ was scared to die. It says, he that sweareth to his own hurt and changeth not. Going into a situation our forefathers did, they went into situations where they knew this is going to be the end of my life. Just like, give me that. I ain't got this written down. Give me that in Maccabees, verse 12. Let's read kind of quick. 2 Maccabees 6 and 12.
2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 12. Now I beseech those that read this book that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for a chastening of our nation. For it is a token of his great goodness when wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but for wit punished. For not as with other nations, whom the Lord patiently forbeareth to punish, till they be come to the fullness of their sins, so dealeth he with us.
So basically what he's saying is we catching hell right now. But they're going to get theirs on the back end. And it's going to be way worse than what we're going through right now. Go ahead.
Verse 15. Lest that being come to the height of sin, afterwards he should take vengeance on us. And therefore he never withdraweth his mercy from us. And though he punish with adversity, yet doth he never forsake his people.
Read on.
But let this that we have spoken be for a warning unto us. And now will we come to the declaring of the matter in few words. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth and came of his own accord to the torment.
That's exactly what it says. He that sweareth to his own hurt and changeth not. A man like that, he's going to dwell in the kingdom of heaven with Christ and the Most High. Read on. Verse 20.
As it behooved them to come that are resolute to stand out against such things as are not lawful for love of life to be tasted. But they that had the charge that wicked feast for the old acquaintance, they had with the man, taking him aside, but sought him to bring flesh of his own provision.
So they try to get him to trim his ways to seek love. They try to get him to eat, to bring something clean, but make it look like he was eating pork. When we read on down, he gave up his life just for food. That's heavy. It's heavy. All right, jump up to verse 24.
2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 24.
Start at 23.
2 Maccabees chapter 6 verse 23. But he began to consider discreetly, and as became his age and excellency of his ancient years, and the honor of his gray head, whereunto he was come, and his most honest education from a child, or rather the holy law, made and given by God. Therefore he answered accordingly, and willed them straightways to send him to the grave.
He said, kill me now. I ain't eating it. I ain't faking the funk. I'm standing up for what's right. Read on.
For it becometh not our age, said he, in any wise to dissemble, whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar, being 80 years old and 10, were now gone to a strange religion.
He's 90 years old. He could have easily just said, okay, give it to me. Let me live out the rest of my days in peace. Read on.
And so they through mine hypocrisy and desired to live a little time.
No.
For though for the present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men, yet should I not escape the hand of the Almighty, neither alive nor dead.
Read on.
Wherefore now, manfully, changing this life, I will shew myself such in one as mine age requireth.
Jump down to verse 30.
2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 30. But when he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned and said, it is manifest unto the Lord that hath the holy knowledge, that whereas I might have been delivered from death, I now endure sore pains in body by being beaten, but in so am well content to suffer these things because I fear him.
Read on.
And thus this man died, leaving his death for an example of a noble courage and a memorial of virtue, not only unto young men, but unto all his nation.
That man has a place in the holy hill of God. Now go to Luke 22:41. Luke, some examples of he that swerveth to his own hurt and changeth not. He knows all the odds are stacked against him. He might lose this, he might lose that, might lose family, might lose a job. But he ain't changing because he feared God. Read on.
Luke chapter 22 and verse 41. And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's cast, and kneeled down and prayed, saying, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. And there appeared an angel unto him from heaven, strengthening him. And being in an agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling down to the ground.
So in the face of death, because we spoke about this with us officers, and you women wasn't here because we didn't want to be passing out tissue and y'all boo-hooing. But the scriptures say that the prophets of the Most High was killed for speaking the word of God. And that's why I said we can't live in a fantasy world. Lord's letting us get prepared now, getting our faith built up. Do you actually think that Esau is not going to come to the point of where he sees Negroes and Hispanics standing on the corner talking about America's going to be destroyed and not do nothing about it? No, you out your mind. I hope you know, you brothers in here know what you signed up for. When you broke that bread and you drunk that wine, you made a covenant with Christ to give up your life if it gets to that point. I hear you. But Christ was scared as hell when that came. I hear you. But he was praying if it's some other way. 3 times he did that. But that's what he had to do to sit in the holy hill of God. Hebrews 12:2. Now, it might not be to that for all of us. It might be a different battle, different temptation. It might be family. It might be overcoming the lust that we deal with. But those are the things that we have to conquer to get to the kingdom. This is what Christ went through. Hebrews 12:2.
Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 2. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God.
So we looking at Jesus' examples of what he did to get to the kingdom. He suffered the cross. And we've read that many times before where he was kept up all night, questioned, punched, spit on, slapped, mocked, hung on the cross all day to the point he said, why hast thou forsaken me? Because he was up there all day. He was just waiting on, just take my life from me. But he put him up there the whole day. That's what he had to go through. Hebrews 2:9. Hebrews chapter 2, verse 9.
Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 9. But we see Jesus, who was made a little lower than the angels for the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor, that he, by the grace of God, should taste death for every man.
Go to 1 Corinthians 6 and 9. So all of us have different avenues that we might have to walk through to get to the kingdom. We don't know. We have to walk this walk of faith. And whenever it comes and it meets us in the face, we have to stand stiffly for the laws of God. 1 Corinthians 6 and 9. This may be your battle.
1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 9. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God?
The unrighteous are sinners. That's 1 John 5 and 17. Read on.
Be not deceived, neither fornicators.
Fornication.
Nor
fornication might be your hang up. You can't keep your stuff in your pants until you sign the papers. You sign the papers, you won't sleep with all kind of other women. That might be your thing. You got to get over. Read on.
Nor idolatry.
You 1 foot out of Christianity. You 1 foot out of worshiping the patron saint. Whatever them other stuff is. Guadalupe. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Read on.
Nor adulterers.
You like other women. You got the one at home, but you just like to taste a little bit of other stuff to keep you going. Read on.
Nor effeminate.
You might be a man that was raised by your mama and you took on her ways. You ain't getting into the kingdom. Read on.
Nor abusers of themselves with mankind.
Because being effeminate is going to lead you to sodomy. That's abusers of themselves with mankind. Man with man, woman with woman. God says you are abusing yourself. That's an exit only. Read on. They didn't catch it. Read on.
Nor thieves.
No what?
Nor thieves.
All right.
Nor covetous. Nor drunkards. Nor revelers.
Revilers.
Nor revilers. Nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God.
Go to Revelation 21. Y'all got anything else? I'm almost done. Let me know y'all want to bring something out. We're going through just the keys of the kingdom here. Revelation 21. Let's start at verse 10. What's it going to take for us to get there? Oh, and I pray you go home, you meditate on these things.
Revelations chapter 21 and verse 10.
Especially meditate on those laws, those basics that we went over today. You got to know what that means, so when that situation comes across, you be like, dang, I messed up. I didn't even know what that means. And then you get to stand before Christ, and he pulls out, the Most High pulls out Leviticus 19 on you, and he's like, I didn't know what that meant. But you was doing it your whole daggone life on earth. Revelation 21, and let's start at verse, I think it's 10.
Revelations chapter 21 and verse 10. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and shewed me the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone, most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and the names written thereon were the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel.
Now jump over to verse 3. So we know we're talking about the kingdom of heaven, right? That it's not going to be up in the sky, all right? Give me Matthew 6 real quick, just so we know. We'll go over that one day too, so you can understand when you actually say the Lord's Prayer, what you asking for. Read that Matthew 6 Lord's Prayer real quick.
Matthew
6 and 9.
Matthew chapter 6 and verse 9. After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven.
So when we read about this in Revelation 21, about the kingdom of heaven, it's coming down. It's going to be on earth, not up there in the skies, right? So if you want to dwell in the kingdom with the Most High and with Christ, We went through a list of things that we got to get to, that we got to conquer, overcome, give up, learn, apply. Read verse 3 now, Revelation 21 and 3.
Revelations chapter 21 and verse 3. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And God himself shall be with them, and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. And there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away.
So going back to what I said earlier, that Christian thought of this is going to be a cakewalk and I ain't really got to give up nothing. I could just come here and play church until Christ come back. That's not going to happen. Because he just let you know, up until the kingdom come, there's going to be death. So if you ain't got your house in order, you ain't got a will, you ain't got life insurance, those things, you better start getting those in order. Or you pass away, you're going to be right back in the Christian church with a cross on your damn tombstone. And it ain't nothing you can do about it because you can't say nothing. And you think your family's going to come in here and consult Officer Gad and me about what we should do with you passed away? Psh, they hate us. They're going to send you through an oven and turn you into powder for real cheap and sprinkle your ass across the ocean.
Let me say he's gonna be coming back as a whale.
Yeah. Bring these things out, because this is we think we're gonna live forever, especially us that go out on the streets. We do a very dangerous job. The Most High knows who's built for that and who ain't. That's, like I said, that's not all of our plight. But one thing is for sure, death is come upon all men. We not going to live forever. So, like I said, stop having that Christian thought of fairy tale. You have no idea when Christ is coming back. Stop trying to guess, because we see all these signs and things coming to pass more and more. Okay, he's about 2-3 more years. I know it's going to be over. Nah. It could be 50. It could be 100. It could be 25. Who knows? So, while we on this earth, these things are going to be here. Read verse 4 again.
Psalms.
Revelation 21. Revelation 21 and 4.
Revelation chapter 21 and verse 4. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. For the former things are passed away.
So until that comes, these are the things we're going through. Read on.
And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me,
Read that again, verse 5.
Revelation chapter 21 and verse 5. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful.
These words are true and faithful. That what? Jump over to verse 27.
Revelation chapter 21 and verse 27. And there shall in no wise enter into it
the kingdom
anything that defileth, neither whatsoever worketh abomination, or maketh a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life.
So in order to get into the kingdom of heaven, go back to Psalms 15 now, and let's read through that.
Psalms chapter 15 and verse 1. Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Who shall dwell in thy holy hill?
We got a list of examples of who's going to be there. Read on.
He that walketh uprightly.
That doesn't lie, that doesn't defraud his neighbor, that isn't walking up and down as a talebearer, that's not a backbiter. Read on.
And worketh righteousness, and speaketh the truth in his heart. He that backbiteth not with his tongue.
So if you can't learn how to control your mouth, no place in the kingdom of heaven for you. Read on.
Nor doth evil.
Nor that doeth evil.
Nor doeth evil to to his neighbor, nor taketh up a reproach against his neighbor.
If you can't learn to love thy neighbor as thyself in word and in deed, not just the superficial, yeah, that's the scripture in the Bible, we practice it because we Israelites. Well, where's the action behind it? I ain't been around that long to apply it, to help I don't really know nobody around there. How long you been going? 6, 7 months? You know the people's name around you? No. I really don't know too many people around there. You playing games. Verse 4.
In whose eyes a vile person is contained.
You speak justly and rightly no matter what the outcome. Using discretion. It's a time and a place for all of that, but you don't sugarcoat the scriptures. Read on.
But he honoreth them that fear the Lord. He that swerveth to his own hurt and changeth not.
He that knows that in this situation, I might not return from this. I might get hurt in this situation, but I ain't changing not. I'm standing stiffly for the word of God. Because I know it's a reward after this. The things that are unseen are more real than the things that are seen, is what Paul said. Read on.
He that putteth not out his money to usury.
What does that mean? What does that mean? He that putteth not out his money to usury. Zion had his hand up first. Hello? Yeah, go ahead, brother.
It means you put out your money and to your brothers and you expect them to pay you back with interest.
Right, exactly right. Now let's get the law on that. Keys to the kingdom, right? Exodus 22:25.
Exodus chapter 22 and verse 25. If thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as an usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury.
So that means charge interest. He owe you 20, you want $25, $30 back for lending him that money. Go to Deuteronomy 23 and 19.
Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 19. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury.
So when it comes to that, we got to have a fair, just balance for a just weight. Deal uprightly with them in that way. Now go back to Psalms 15 and 5. These are the little things that we can overlook and we miss out on the kingdom. Psalms 15 and 5.
Psalms chapter 15 and verse 5. He that putteth not out his money to usury, nor taketh reward against the innocent, he that doeth these things shall never be moved.
He that doeth these things shall never be moved. Let me see something here.
Psalms chapter 24 and verse 1. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. For he hath founded upon the seas, and established it upon the floods. Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord, or who shall stand in his holy place? He that hath clean hands and a pure heart, who have not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully, he shall receive the blessing from the Lord, and righteousness from the God of his salvation.
Now go to Hebrews 2 and 1. He that hath clean hands, a pure heart. We bring that out all the time, a pure heart, pure mind. We can't keep these commandments in here falsely. Just showing up, putting on fringes, and not actually applying what's written here. You do yourself a disservice. You're wasting your time. Because at the end of the day, Christ is going to say, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Time for application of these laws. It's time to stop playing church. Hebrews 2 and 1.
Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 1. Therefore, we ought to give the more earnest heed to the things which we have heard, lest at any time we should let them slip.
So if you got questions about what we went over today, or how to handle some issues that we might have read in Psalms 15 and 1, going down that list, and you don't know how to handle them with your neighbor, or you might be in the midst of that, you need some guidance to overcome that, you need to come up here and speak to leadership so we can help you get over that hill. You take heed to those things that you heard today. Because God forbid that we do all of this and then he denies us because we denied his word and never actually applied it to our life. And for a lot of us, it's going to take getting over your own pride. Because it baffles us, the stuff that we find out and we hear in Israel, and it could have been handled a long time ago, but you held on to it because of your pride of you being grown. But you in here for a reason. You actually only about 6 months old. Been on the earth for 40, 50 years, but you're really just 6, 7 months old, 2 years old. You need help along the way. So take heed to what we heard today. Don't let it slip.
Shalom, Israel. I'm Elder Nathaniel, Israel United in Christ. YouTube likes to shut our channels down, as some of you have noticed, ever so often. Subscribing to join IUIC will assure you will always stay connected to our YouTube accounts. We want to do our best to make sure this truth gets out. Please click and join our subscriber YouTube channel called Join IUIC to stay linked to all of our videos. So again, please make sure you subscribe to this Join IUIC channel to get your latest updates from all our YouTube channels. Shalom.